I'm standing here in front of the Qatar National Library, and in this image you see a number of essential points about this whole library. Qatar has a very hot climate, and what you see here is that it's a single volume, and the corners of the volume are lifted to create a kind of vestibule, and because of the concrete, those vestibules are cooler than the kind of rest of the environment. So basically you look here directly to the entrance, and what the point of this particular building is that it is a building that kind of through this device of lifting the corners, you enter in the center and you're immediately where the action is and where the point of the library is. And I will now take you to that point and then kind of explain why entering in the center is such a crucial thing. I think that what you also see is that there is quite a dense kind of public going on. This library, although it is the National Library on a university campus, from the very moment it opened has become a kind of assembly place for the city of Qatar and for the Qatari as a whole, in a way that was actually unimaginable in any other context. So we're now kind of underneath the kind of vestibule, underneath the canopy. And you see that there is a number of kind of features. There's a kind of small fountain, and there are kind of elements that enable people also to enjoy the outside. It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon, it's already dark, but you see that the kind of very youthful public is entering the library at an hour where kids would be coming out of libraries in Europe. We've now entered the building, and because this is a building in Qatar, kind of for a culture that is not known kind of for reading, we needed to make a building that is completely self-evident and a building that explains itself. And so therefore the effect of entering in the center is that you are in the middle and that you're surrounded kind of basically by every department, by every book, and by every element that is important for this library. So although it's a kind of vast space and although there is kind of many different uses, all those uses become actually almost immediately transparent and accessible from the moment you enter, and that is not only for a generation of kind of sophisticated readers, it's also very true for children, teenagers, older people, and all the kind of categories, all the expats and even the kind of foreign workers that are using this library in a very intense way. We're now standing amidst the books. The books are all accessible. There's a number of very sophisticated systems that Claudia and Vincent will explain. Between the shelves there are kind of workspaces, and what you kind of look down on is a kind of vast plane, which is not specifically used as part of the library, but which is simply used to kind of receive the Qatar, the Doha community. And I've been kind of very involved in thinking about libraries since the 70s and 80s. On the one hand, there is a kind of sense that the internet makes the use for books less and less urgent. I think that on the other hand, social media create a vast potential for loneliness and for separation between people. And that therefore one of the roles for architecture at this moment is to create environments where people want to assemble and want to be together, maybe not intimately together, but want to form a community. So there are two tendencies: the supposedly less plausible or less necessary confrontation with the book, but on the other hand the more necessary collection and coalescence between individual people into larger communities that kind of meet here. So one of the important parts of the library, apart from the big hall and the kind of slopes with books, is the bridge that basically connects the two halves, in which an auditorium is embedded, and which is used for meeting rooms and kind of reading rooms. And the second important element that you kind of see now is the kind of sunken part, which actually was an afterthought, where a special collection of rare books reflecting on Islamic culture, Islamic history and kind of Islamic religion are also embedded in the library almost as a kind of form of archaeology. So basically in this single image you see every element that is key to the kind of experience of the library. You see that they're all accessible and all part of a larger whole, and that none of them is identified or separated from any of the others, that they all are in open communication and therefore form part of this larger whole. We're now in an auditorium. It's part of the bridge, and it is defined by a single curtain by Petra Blaise, inside outside, and that curtain can either be there and then it defines a separate space, or it can be lifted and then it becomes part of the larger hall. What is really exciting is that this library is increasingly being used for things that have nothing to do with books. So theater performances, music performances, concerts, all of that is already kind of regularly held here, and that kind of expands basically the range of activities, and that range is exactly what the building itself and what the design of the building invites and proposes as part of this new definition of a library, more as a kind of the center for a collective, kind of rather than something explicitly and only dedicated to reading books. We're now standing on the bridge. We're looking 2 levels down at the rare books section, which is a museum-like condition. And basically, if you move out of that level, you see one of the kind of largest areas of the building, which is now used for a particular exhibition, but which could, for instance, also be kind of used for volleyball games, table tennis, or even basketball, as far as I'm concerned. Simply extending the range of what can happen in a library and what a library is capable of accommodating. One of the kind of revelations of kind of working here is basically the incredibly important kind of role kind of women play in kind of running both the cultural institutions and the educational institutions in Qatar. Almost all our counterparts were very critical, emancipated Qatari women who basically were completely able to achieve their goals, kind of rather than achieving our goals. The children's library is one of the most intensely used, and again, kind of slightly unexpected that it would be so popular that actually we have to already extend it. We found a way to make it maybe 30% bigger, simply on popular demand. And this is also a place where kind of basically separation between expats, locals, and the entire population of the city is undone, simply because the kind of shared youth of all the users. We're now on the bridge and we're taking the elevator to the basement or to the special book collection. So we are basically making a section through the 3 layers of the building. We descend from the bridge. We're now more or less at the ground level, so you're kind of surrounded by that panorama. And we go further down into the rare book selection, which is a totally different and less modern material. We covered it in Persian travertine to kind of really create a kind of analogy between the age of the books and also the age of the materials. And these kind of three layers are what you experience kind of once you're in the lowest level. So this is a very famous image and original. It's a so-called blue Quran, really priceless, gold on extremely beautiful blue parchment. And then kind of you see then the kind of reflection of the ceiling of the library. You see the kind of rare book collection, and you see the kind of reality of the ceiling again. And you also kind of hear how the enormous volume of the building in itself accommodates many kind of different sounds and makes it possible for all these activities to coexist together in a single building. We're now outside again. We walked out directly from the rare book entrance, so it has a separate entrance. We're now in a kind of courtyard, a covered courtyard, which instead of the other one, which is kind of really public, is more like a kind of patio, where we kind of put fragments of the kind of travertine to create a kind of stone garden, which is to some extent, I guess, a kind of reference to the desert. One of our last and most improvised ideas was to make the ceiling reflective. And we did it kind of partly to simply draw in the light into the center of the building. The building has an enormous floor plate of 160 by 160 meters, so it was quite hard to illuminate the middle. And you also see how in architectural terms this reflective ceiling creates a kind of virtual building on top and above of the real building.